Before mankind laid claim to the world, there were beings of incomprehensible power and fear that ruled over this domain. And I'm not talking about the dinosaurs, okay? I'm talking about beings that were horrifying on an eldritch level, that ruled over the world with an iron fist and ruled over monsters that are in our very nightmares, that occupy the horror we know now. The creatures we fear in the dark were shitting themselves in the presence of them. And this establishes where our nightmares truly come from. The monsters we fear the most. There's a film about a bunch of teenagers going into a cabin in the woods. Teenagers that look like they're 30 years old, by the way. And in this cabin, they witnessed a lot of horrifying stuff. How a typical cabin in the woods horror movie goes. But then, it's slowly and slowly revealed that underneath this cabin lies a sinister organization with goals that go beyond the typical horror story. Now, when I first watched this movie, I couldn't even get through it in the first, 30 minutes. I was like, what is this shit, man? Dumb, hot, cliche characters with a stupid dumb plot. It's one I've seen many, many times before. Emphasis on hot characters, because I will say, the women in this film, holy God. Lord, help me. Don't let me be stuck in a cabin with them. That's all I'm gonna say. And I do envy this fucking wolf head that's on this mounted on this wall in this specific scene. I really envy it, and I really appreciate the filmmakers for giving me that scene. But regardless, I thought this movie was a bad parody when I was watching it. Honestly, that's what I thought. There has to be something more here. And lo and behold, there was. It's revealed that there is a freaking organization underneath this cabin that really, really wants the characters of the film to go into the usual horror tropes that we would see and that we're sick of as an audience. Because these characters are meant to represent the 5 cliche characters. You have the dumb jock athlete played by Chris Hemsworth. You got the hoe played by Anna Hutchinson, hot as fuck. You got the smart dude, you got the dumbass, and you got the virgin. You got your typical set of characters in a horror story. The organization under the cabin wants them to be low IQ. It puts certain things in motion for them to make dumb decisions, like, oh, let me drop a weapon last second, let me scream hello into the dark, let me go into that dark corner where I shouldn't go, you know? Dumbass decisions that horror movie characters make that we all hate, they make on purpose. Plus, the company, this organization, floods this cabin with aerosol drugs that makes these characters even stupider. And not to mention, the company has a plethora of monsters ready to go, lab-made monsters that we've seen from every horror movie, ready to go. And there's so many fucking Easter eggs in this. All of this is meant to encapsulate an ancient ritual that's been happening since forever for these ancient Lovecraftian beings underground, subterranean. And it is meta horror awesomeness. As a monster movie fan, this is badass. I love it. I was completely nerding and geeking the fuck out when I was seeing all this go down. I'm highly appreciative of this film, but I'm more appreciative of the fact that it doesn't have a sequel. You know why? Because by the end of this film, you'll know that there's no sequel needed. None at all. There ain't no stories to be told after this. The funniest thing about this organization is the zoology department, where they genetically create these beings, these horror movie monsters, to attack various characters in the movie to create the horror movie plot. And they get influence from the ancient monsters that existed before humanity and the modern horrors that people are scared of now. So they create monsters off of that formula. And we see a point where all these monsters are unleashed upon this organization. I might have to do something and censor this image because I could get demonetized. But all of these creatures get released and go to town on this. They brutally kill, and destroy all the members of this organization. There's a lot of monsters that you'll find familiar. There's a lot of interesting ones that take homage from different horror movies. Okay, you got the Mummy, you got Pinhead over here, this Pinhead dude. You got some kind of alien here. All right, you have the Sugar Plum Fairy or whatever, this ballerina with freaking teeth on her face. You got a merman. You got a lizard creature. You got a killer clowns and werewolves and vampires too. You got zombies. You got big ass snakes. You got wraiths and ghosts. Okay, you got giant bats and whatever the hell this thing who looks like one of the vampires from Blade. You got dolls and shit. You got a fucking unicorn. You got everything you could imagine in here. I just scratched the surface. But it comes to a point where our main characters, the two ones that are left, the dumb fuck and the virgin, they find a temple. An ancient temple where all the blood from the sacrifices go to some beings underground. And then it's revealed what's happening. This organization is one of many around the globe. You got Egyptian, you got Indian, you got different places around the world that all do similar rituals for their culture, though, for beings that exist underground, known as the Ancient Ones. Okay? Keep that in mind. So this ritual is taking place in the western southern hemisphere, somewhere there, okay? So this is the western ritual. You kill five of the trope characters. The blood goes down and feeds, and the ritual itself placates to and entertains the beings below, known as the Ancient Ones, right? These beings are the first gods that walked upon the earth before man ever ventured there, before man was born. They ruled over everything, including the monsters that you would know from horror. Whether they be giant monsters like bats, snakes, vampires, wraiths, ghosts, demons, they ruled over all of them. The Ancient Ones ruled over everyone, and then the monsters started dying out over time. And that's when humanity came through. I believe the monsters started dying out around the time that the meteors hit and killed the dinosaurs too. Then humanity came into play. And then once humanity started staking claim over the world, for some odd reason, these giant, colossal ancient ones, these beings of incomprehensible power, went into the earth. They fled into the earth. For some reason, why would they give a fuck if humans, cavemen, are occupying space? Like, why would that matter to them? They're beyond humans. This leads me to theorize that there is some kind of outside force, godly force, outside of the Ancient Ones, outside of our world, that forced them down into the ground so humans could make their way into the world. Now, what this being is, I don't know. It could be God. It could be some kind of God that was at least above the Ancient Ones in the hierarchy that forced them down here. But it didn't put them down there permanently. It didn't imprison them there. It just influenced them to go down there. But these beings, one, could see everything. They know everything that's happening on the surface. These are Lovecraftian ancient beings. They're all powerful. But also, they can come up to the surface and destroy and lay waste to every fucking thing. All of humanity could be genocided. However, there was a deal made between humans and them. You guys are not going to come to the surface and kill us all, and in return, we're going to give you sacrifices, ritual sacrifices, and we're going to placate to you. We're going to entertain you with the sacrifices so that you can be kept at bay and be happy. More than anything, they want to be entertained and they need the ritual to be finished. They need the 5 sacrifices to be done. And if not, they're going to come up and kill everybody. They're going to nuke the world. So our 2 main characters survive towards the end and refuse to kill each other. They refuse to abide by the ritual, so the sacrifices are not complete. And they're like, fuck it, let humanity die at this point. We're all dead anyways. They're like, fuck it, humanity's not even worth saving. Boom. So at the end, we get the a big-ass arm coming from the surface, and that signals the rise of the Ancient Ones to kill everything in the world. Yeah. That's how cool of an ending Cabin in the Woods is. And the Ancient Ones, in a way, on an allegory level, represent us, the audience, who constantly wants spectacle, more violence. You know, even though we're sick of tropes, we'll still watch the same kind of movie over and over again. Money talks, right? We put money into the things that we know, right? So in many ways, these Ancient Ones represent the audience and the entertainment we watch. Now, an interviewer asked the director of this film, is there going to be a sequel? Where's the sequel for Cabin in the Woods? And he said, did you not watch the fucking ending of this movie? There's no sequel needed. The world's done. The Ancient Ones rose up and killed everyone. Everybody. Everybody's dead, brother. However, what I will say is that while there is no sequel, I do believe that there is a movie that could be a spin-off or exist in the same world as Cabin in the Woods called Midnight Meat Train. I made a whole video on this. There's a dude who slaughters people on a train and feeds them to underground lizard people. And he's part of this esoteric elitist cult that does this to keep these creatures at bay. These creatures represent the deep ones from Lovecraftian mythos. And they need to be fed, otherwise they're coming up to the surface and taking over everything. And they were there before man created cities. They were there before man occupied the surface. And they fled underground. I believe that these creatures are akin to the monsters we see in the Cabin in the Woods, but specifically, they also worship the higher Ancient One deities underground. If they're not fed, then their deity is not fed either. I believe that this is part of the global rituals. It's one of the rituals. So we have the Southern Hemisphere rituals that are like in these woods in the hillside, and then we have one in the cities, and then we have a ritual organization that's probably in suburbia, and then rituals in different countries, Middle Eastern countries and all that shit. It's all part of the same world. That's my theory anyways. Interesting thing. It's one of my favorite Lovecraftian stories, The Midnight Meat Train and Cabin in the Woods. I love it, and I love how there's no hope. I love how there's no hope at the end of this shit. Cabin in the Woods, the world is done. The world's over. Fucking love it. If you want to know my thoughts on Midnight Meat Train and how exactly it connects and ties together, you can watch the video over here. Bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are on a mission to take over Hollywood. But the army must keep growing. If you want to suggest video topics to me, or talk about your favorite movies or favorite film theories in a community with like-minded individuals, join the Zafy Discord now. Link is in the description and the comment section as well. Join us. This movement is just beginning. We're taking over Hollywood, one coke line at a time.